this is Erica Norton, and I'm the founder of Perfect Legal Video. I'm very excited to have with us today Attorney Nicole Reeves Lavallee. She has an amazing law firm out in the Worcester area that handles both family cases and real estate and wills and trusts. She just does it all. And she has an amazing team that supports her. And we're very lucky to have her with us every week to discuss law in those areas. And today we're going to talk about a topic that we've actually never broached before, which is hard because we've been working together for, gosh, 7 years or so. Isn't that right?
It is. It's kind of hard to come up with new topics, but I think we got one for you today.
Yeah, we certainly do. So today we're going to be talking about getting a passport for your child when you are separated or divorced from your partner, the second parent, and trying to work together to get that, and like what are the ramifications of it, the do's and the don'ts, and the pros and the cons, and all of that. So, welcome to the show today, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, talking about passports for children, I guess let's first just talk about what is the actual process of getting a passport for an underage child.
Well, parent signatures. That's the hardest part. The application process is easy enough, but the actual signatures of both parents on the documentation, that's really a hard thing to do. And I've been involved where I'm going, okay, I need to have your photo ID and I need to have your signature and I need to have all of this together and then I need to notarize it. And it becomes this big tangled mess because one person's always going, my kid doesn't need to go out of state. He certainly doesn't need to go out of country. And then you start World War III.
Oh, man. So, what are some of the reasons that people wouldn't want their child to go out of the country? Is it just a trust issue, or are there more issues than that?
It depends on the parties. Sometimes it is you're going to a country that really isn't safe right now. I really don't know what's going on in the country. There's bad things happening. They're talking about, somebody coming in and attacking, or they're talking about terrorism, or they're talking about drugs, whatever, you name it. I think every country has a problem, right? Even the US has a problem. But the question is, what does that parent perceive it to be? And then really, is it something real? And then on the flip side of that is, well, I want to go over there because my family's over there and I want to see my family. And the other parent's going, kidnapping. They're never going to return with the kid. And so those are kind of the two big reasons that parents say absolutely not to.
I mean, that's really tough, and I guess you have to really have trust. And you were right. I mean, you don't have to go out of the country to see shootings and all sorts of terrible things, drugs and crime and everything. Um, it's unfortunate that it's unsafe sometimes to send your child to school or church or out to a game or a concert. I mean, it is very scary no matter where you go. I think my biggest concern as a parent would be, is that other parent going to really watch the kid? I mean, you go into another country, they get lost, and it's even scarier than if you're in your own neighborhood.
Absolutely. And I think it's also scary when, maybe it's something that I'm going on this vacation and I speak a little bit of the language, but not a lot. And, it could be that the kid just wandered off and went around the corner or is behind, some tall person and they're at a vendor stand and he's not really lost. But, you as a parent go in that panic mode, like, holy crap. And then you're going, oh my God, even more. I don't know how to speak the language. I don't know how to communicate that this is what's going on. And so then you're getting even more anxiety and panic stricken because there is that language barrier. So I think those are really the concerns that people have, and they're absolutely legitimate. But I think the reality is we have to look at, well, how is this really either in the best interest or not in the best interest of the child, because that's what the court is going to look at to make that determination.
I mean, I think that that's really good. I mean, so what are some of the excuses that they use? Obviously, you've mentioned family. Is education ever a part of it? We're going to be going and checking out all of these landmarks and cool museums and that sort of thing. Um, I mean, I'm sure that, I mean, I've even heard that there are like maybe high school age kids have gone out of the country to I went to Canada once, but we just drove over the line, and I lived in Maine at the time. It was very different though. I mean, we went to Quebec, so it was very different. Uh, I don't think I ate the whole time. Um, meat and potatoes going to Quebec. I mean, ugh. So, like, what do they use as good excuses that the judge would be happy to grant the permission to get the visa?
Well, the judge is going to start with, let's run everyone's query. Let's see if anyone has a criminal record. Let's see what that criminal record is. Let's look at their history of their case. If a custody or divorce case, how thin or thick is the file? How many times have the court, as the parties come in on a contempt or real serious issues, is there parent alienation going on? So we're going to start with the big picture first and foremost, because we need to know what's going on with these particular parties, their history, history between themselves, their history with the court, their history with being reasonable versus completely unreasonable. Then, assuming we get through all of that, again, what's the reason? Are we going down because I want to teach my child about my Italian heritage, and I want them to know that this is where my grandparents grew up, and this is how they lived, and or is it going to be for educational purposes, like you said, all too often is if the child's being taken out of school, is it for education, and can we make that up in terms of this is the education that they're going to get in lieu of actually being in a classroom, or are they going to get penalized? So there are tons of things that we can consider. The biggest thing that the court's going to consider is, are you willing to pay for it? Do you have return tickets? Do you have information? Do you have contact information? Hotel, parents' names, somebody else that we can reach out to. So those are the things that the court's going to look at, again, because we're not going to deprive the child of this adventure, if you will. But we might, if there are underlining issues, like I said, like if there is, we're going, to Colombia or Gaza right now, or, the Ukraine, like these are places we're not going to take our kids at the moment. But, in peaceful times, absolutely. So it really kind of depends on what you're looking at and where you're going and why. So I think those are kind of the big things that the court's going to consider, because we don't just sit there and say, you can't go. We need to have a legitimate reason as to why somebody can or cannot go.
Well, this is a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. I thought that you just both sign a form and you go together to the passport place and you can get the passport, but it sounds like you need an attorney.
You need an attorney if your ex is being unreasonable. I mean, there's a lot of times that, parents are like, yeah, absolutely, take our child there. You've been going there, and maybe the other thing is that child already has a passport. Because I'm from Brazil, I go to Brazil every year to see my family. Of course, I'm going to take them there. Just because we got divorced doesn't mean anything. The issue then becomes, who holds the passport? Because the ex is probably going to want to hold the passport until I produce that receipt saying, here's the return flight, here's the information, this is when I'm back, I'm going to be staying at my parents' address and phone number, here you go. So again, there are times that parents can cooperate and act like adults. So it really boils down to, are we going to be able to obtain that passport? Because again, all we need is the signature of both parties and the photo ID from both parents saying, yes, I have approved this.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And so, are there any ways that you would suggest that you can work through some of these issues? I mean, it sounds like obviously it's nice if they have the contacts so they know where you're going to be and what hotel you're going to be at and that sort of thing. And they've got the copies of the itinerary and the tickets. Um, I mean, so that's all really good. And how easy is it for you really to like go travel with a child and not come back? Is it easy for that to happen?
I'm not going to give anyone ideas. I'm just
Oh,
going to state that it's kidnapping. You
Mm,
don't return with the child, it's kidnapping. And it
right.
would be federal kidnapping charges. And yes, the other countries will most likely get involved.
I mean, you need to have like residential visas and that sort of thing if you're going to stay. So I would imagine that eventually you're going to get in trouble if you stay longer than you're supposed to. So I mean that's all good news. I mean, you would just hope that you wouldn't have to worry about something like that though, but I know that some people do have to worry about that and they have a very uh, you know, rocky relationship with their ex and some people will just make every single thing difficult. And unfortunately, you spend a lot of money and time with your lawyers when that's the case.
Absolutely. And I think, more often than not, you don't necessarily hear people going to countries that aren't affiliated with their heritage in some way. But what you do have a lot of is, well, I'm going to go to Puerto Rico. It's part of the US. I'm going to get as far away from it as I can. Guess what? Let me be clear. I'm going to go over this again and again and again. If you plan on taking your child out of state permanently, anywhere out of state permanently, it's kidnapping. I don't care if it's Puerto Rico, I don't care if it's Rhode Island, it is the same legal effect. So don't do it, go through the court system.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the most important thing. And if you have questions about this, I mean, and I would imagine that if there have been custody disputes and that sort of thing, that they're probably not going to allow you to have a visa or give you permission to take your child out of the country, even if you do have a visa already. So, I mean, there's that to consider. But, you know, if you have disputes, you have to go in and see Nicole and her team because they will go over everything with you, tell you what is realistic and what isn't. I mean, because the worst thing is to waste your time and money on something that is just not going to work with the courts. A lot of times they do have a crystal ball because it's not really that they can tell the future and that it's just not a surprise because they are in court every single day handling these same exact issues over and over and over again. So do you see this issue a lot with the passports?
I definitely see it enough. It is a regular thing, it's not an every case thing, but I would say probably one in every 30 cases it comes about. And that's a significant number. Again, the question is, why does your ex want to go to that country or that city or wherever the case may be? And is the parent responsible? Because a lot of times we'll say, oh, yeah, but they want to go there because they want to go get drunk. And my kid's, 5 years old. Okay, but what's your basis for that? What makes you say that? What is the parenting schedule now? Is that parent getting drunk now um, when they have the child? So again, we have to look at big picture, and sometimes it's hard to do as a parent, absolutely. But sometimes there is that absolute history, and you're going, Nicole, can I slap you in the face with this anymore? Because I can keep showing you all of this stuff over and over again. So again, really kind of depends on the family. And that's why I'm going to go back to jot everything down, write everything down, take pictures as much as you can, take, any type of evidence that you have, make sure it's printed out and available because you don't know when this scenario is coming about.
Absolutely. Are there any other pieces of information that you think we should have today before we go on getting passports?
I don't think there's anything more on passports, but I will say this. Um, it also pertains to travel. Don't tell me that you're fighting your ex because he wants to take the children to Disney World. I guarantee you, you will lose that case in court. Again, there are certain places that I know the court's going to go, why? And then we get to Disney World. They're never going to preclude a parent from going there. So it's just not even worth the time and energy for us to go into court. Everyone's going to go, well, what kid doesn't want to go to Disney World? And I'm going to make a hard argument. It's not going to be your first kid. So just don't make that argument. Figure out what you can do to make sure your child is protected. Put precautions in place, but don't run into court over something like that. Let your child enjoy Disney World.
I mean, it's true. And I think I've traveled with my child, oh gosh, every year we go on some sort of vacation together, and everywhere we go, and we have been to Disney twice, but everywhere we go, we make sure that, we go to the whatever the fun spots are in that area. Like we just went to SeaWorld, and I think you may have seen the video of her, the beluga made a farting noise and surprised the heck out of her when she touched it, and we were laughing forever. I mean, those are fun memories, and we luckily got that on video, and she's gonna hate me one day when I play that for whoever she's dating. But I mean, those are the memories that you make, and going out and having adventures with your child. I'm glad that, like, I mean, it's good that the courts see that as um an obvious yes, because you're only young once and you only get to appreciate those types of places when you're young, and it's great if one of the parents wants to go and do that with them.
Yeah, and a lot of times people are hesitant to allow their kids to go, usually because it's, well, I want to take them. I don't have the money. Well, okay, but again, focus on what's going to make your child happy. And sometimes I know that that's frustrating that, mom or dad is buying off the child. I get it. But don't be that person that's going to, take that away from your child and go, nope, sorry, you can't go to Disney World. Really? Because that's a lot worse than letting your child go and you being miserable.
Hey, the nice thing about Disney World is that there's 4 different parks, and there's other theme parks down there. And when I went, I saved a couple of the parks for my ex, and so he was able to have somewhere new to bring her that she hadn't been before. Um, and that's just how, I thought would be the fair thing to do. But yeah, I mean, it's great. Thank you so much for bringing this information to us. I mean, there's always something, even after 7 years, that we find topics that we haven't covered yet, and this is an important one. I mean, anything that's a thorn in someone's side when it comes to, family court and trying to get things done for your child, or you're, trying to sort things out for yourself, and a breakup that, it's really you and your team just make everything so much easier, and help people navigate those a lot of times choppy waters.
We do our best at least, setting realistic expectations a lot of times because sometimes the topic is hard and I get it. It's an emotional, heart-wrenching thing that you're going through. But you also want your attorney to be able to tell you, but it's going to happen sometimes when we know it is.
I mean, you are the perfect proportion of empathetic and realistic and strategic. I mean, I think all of that's fair. And what I love about you and your team is it's not, I've never been the kind of person that just wants to just get revenge and get as much as you can. Like that's not the right attitude. And nobody's gonna get whatever, like no one's gonna be happy in a good divorce or a good breakup settlement. That's when it's a good settlement, right? If everyone leaves a little bit unhappy.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us this week. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will look forward to seeing you next week when we will bring you another topic or another spin on an old topic. We'll see what we come up with then. But thanks again, everyone, for watching, and have a great weekend.